Soon beginning with this webinar on Metaverse, a common man's view, in a few minutes from now. I once again welcome all dear panelists and participants who have just joined us for today's session on Metaverse, a common man's view. Our expert for today's session, Mr. Kapil Viren Ahuja, Head CX Engineering, Nagaro, India, is already there with us. So within a few minutes, we shall be beginning with today's session, dear participants. I request all the participants to kindly ensure whatever device they are connected with us through for today's webinar, they should be able to access the chat window on the same. I repeat, dear participants, this chat window is a very important mechanism through which we shall be communicating during this webinar. Any questions you have from the expert for today's session, you can keep writing the same on the chat window. I shall be facilitating you by asking them to our expert at the end of the session. Further, a feedback link for your certificate of participation generation for today's session shall be shared with you in this chat window at the end of today's session. So dear participants, kindly ensure whatever device you're connected with us through for today's webinar, you should be able to access the chat window on the same. The chat window appears as a bubble icon on your device, dear participants. So kindly ensure that you can access the chat window. In case there is a problem accessing the chat window at your device, I request you kindly connect through another device also. This webinar is also being live streamed on our official YouTube channel, BVI Camp New Delhi, but the live streaming is only for knowledge dissemination purposes. So dear participants, in case any of your friends or colleagues plan to join through the YouTube channel, kindly ask them to join through our WhatsApp, through our WebEx room itself. Yes, dear participants, whatever you write on the chat window is accessible to us. So you're most welcome to test the chat window by writing in your affiliation, your name, and your details. You're all welcome to today's webinar. So today's webinar is on another, I would say, a very important technology of the present times, Metaverse. And with our expert for today's session, Mr. Kapil Viren Ahuja, Head CX Engineering, Nagaro, India, we will try to understand more about this technology. A very good evening and a very warm welcome to all the panelists and participants. I once again welcome all of you to today's webinar on Metaverse, a common man view. We are sorry for the delay caused, but we are just waiting for a few of our panelists to join us on board. They will be joining us anytime soon. Our expert for today's session has already there with us. Professor M.N. Huda sir, Director, Bharati Vidyapeeth Institute of Computer Applications and Management, has already joined us. Very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you so much and good evening, everyone. I was also held up somewhere and then finally could join. All right. So let's start.
Yes, sir. A very pleasant evening to all distinguished panelists and participants. Bharati Vidyapeeth Institute of Computer Applications and Management, in association with Computational Intelligence Society, CIS chapter of IEEE Delhi section, Computer Society CS chapter of IEEE Delhi section, Technology and Engineering Management Society TEMS chapter of IEEE Delhi section, System, Man and Cybernetics SMC Society chapter of IEEE Delhi section, Communication Society of IEEE Delhi section, Consultants Network Affinity CNA Group of IEEE Delhi section, Life Member Affinity LMA Group of IEEE Delhi section, Inter-Society Relations IRS Standing Committee of IEEE Delhi section, Industry Relations and Special Interest Group on Humanitarian Technology, Site Standing Committee of IEEE Delhi section, with the Associations of Computer Society of India CSI, Institute of Information Technology Professionals IITP, ISTE Delhi section and IETE Delhi Center as technical collaborators welcomes you all to the webinar on Metaverse, a Common Man's View. It is a moment of pride and honor to announce that we, with united hand, mark special contribution for the monumental occasion Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, an initiative to celebrate 75 years of glorious independence by organizing thought-provoking sessions for our better future. This webinar is an initiative for celebration of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. According to Anuj Jasani, CEO, Just Brandable and Budget OK, virtual world exists, and now after metaverse boom, virtual world is developing very fast and time is not far away. We all will start living in a virtual world. This quote indicates that what seems an option today will soon be a necessity for us to survive or perish without it. But is that actually so? A connected world via social network is now an old and new generations are getting pulled into a lot of new interactions. Extended reality is on the rise, and along with gaming, it's poised to take over our social world. Metaverse is going to change how we engage within our social groups. In this session, we will look at what Metaverse is and how it's going to impact all our lives. This webinar is aimed to discuss its all-around perspective. I would first take this opportunity to welcome amongst us our distinguished panelists for the day. We are privileged to have amongst us a galaxy of experts today. I would first welcome Professor M.N. Huda Sir, Director, Bharati Vidyapeeth Institute of Computer Applications and Management, and Vice Chairperson IEEE Delhi Section, to address all the participants with his inspiring words.
Good evening, one and all. Am I audible, Dr. Ritika?
Yes, sir.
Great. So good evening, one and all. I take this opportunity to welcome my valued speaker for today, Mr. Kapil Ahuja. I'm grateful to him for having accepted the request and to discuss with all of us and enlighten us the metaverse, a common man's view. I also take this opportunity to welcome all my friends from various collaborating professional societies, from IET, from CSI, from IEEE, from various sister societies of IEEE, and of course, my friends from various parts of the country and abroad, all the participants. I take this opportunity to welcome you all. It is my proud privilege to welcome you for this 80th webinar of IEEE BBICAN evening webinar series. That's the technical lecture series which we started way back from May 2020 in the backdrop of COVID-19, and that's how we are continuing. And thanks to all my friends from various professional society and all my friends who easily and readily accept to be a valued speaker for this program. So thank you so much, my dear friends. In fact, today's topic, metaverse, is a very futuristic topic, very upcoming topic. And that what Dr. Ritika was talking about, that probably when metaverse will get realized, this social networking, maybe using Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, will be too old or will become redundant. That we have to realize, that we have to see, that we have to experience. And that's how I keep saying that change is the way of life. Unless we change ourselves, the relevance with respect to time goes away. And that's how it is said that इंसान घर बदलता है, लिबास बदलता है, रिश्ते बदलता है, दोस्त बदलता है. इंसान घर बदलता है, लिबास बदलता है, रिश्ते बदलता है, दोस्त बदलता है, फिर भी परेशान क्यों रहता है? क्योंकि हम अपने आप को नहीं बदलते। एंड दैट्स हाउ द ग्रेट पोएट गालिब सेड दैट उम्र भर गालिब यही भूल करता रहा, धूल चेहरे पे थी और मैं आईना साफ करता रहा। So we will not keep on blaming the technology, because technology will keep on changing, and technology will also force us, will compel us, will change the entire ecosystem under which we have no option but to change. And that's how the change is going to happen. Probably web 1.0, web 2.0, now people are talking that whether metaverse is web 3.0 or different, and if different, in which way. And more importantly, we have changed from writing letters and connecting to people through writing letters to making calls, and from calls we changed to writing emails, and from emails we changed to in fact connecting with people using WhatsApp, using Instagram, using LinkedIn, using Facebooks, etc., etc. So all social networks were available to get connected to all of us. We do not know whether web 3.0 or maybe the metaverse per se is going to change, and in which way. For that we have come across at this platform together to understand what the metaverse is, in which way it is going to change the way we are going to connect with each other, the way we are going to communicate with each other, the way we are going to interact with each other. So major changes are going to happen on account of metaverse. It is not the digital communities alone, it is not the digital humanities alone, it is not connecting with people with the help of the social networking or instant messaging. It is much more, and when I'm talking much more, probably the artificial intelligence and data science is going to play much bigger role in the process of connecting with the desired people and the way we are going to connect it. So thank you so much to all the participants from various parts of the country and abroad for joining us for this interesting session, so upcoming, futuristic, that probably it is still being said as a technological concept in nascent and infancy age. But let's get sensitized, and for that we have invited the very experienced and expert of the domain, Mr. Kapil Ahuja, who will tell us that in which way it is expected to get changed, and we should be ready for that change. So thank you so much. This webinar series is for only for one purpose, that despite challenges in and around us, despite disruptions in and around us, we must be busy in learning, and that's how the slogan from our side is keep learning despite disruptions all around us. Stay safe, stay healthy, and protect yourself from everything, but never ever protect the learning which is going to enlighten us, which is going to help us to change. So thank you so much. Wish you all the best. God bless you all. And over to you, Dr. Ritika.
Thank you, sir. I would now welcome our expert speaker, Mr. Kapil Viren Ahuja, sir, with an e-booking.
Thank you.
Change in presenting the bouquet, the electronic bouquet.
Mr. Kapil Viren Ahuja, sir, is head of CX Engineering and Interactive and Marketing Practice with Nagaro India. He also writes about architecture and engineering excellence at http howtoarchitect.io. A technical evangelist with a wide range of skills across enterprise architecture, system integration, and marketing technology across several products and platforms. He has wide experience in areas associated with digital strategy, IT modernization, and operational governance, and is a renowned expert in content management technology, having experience with architecture, design, and implementation across different web content management platforms. He is also experienced in leading multiple partner engagements, vendor strategic relationship evaluations, and portfolio management. He has hands-on experience through the end-to-end engagements with multiple WCM projects executed for global clients in the automotive, e-commerce, and consumer packaged goods domains. He has been enabling various engagement by providing technology support throughout the entire life cycle of the project, starting from pre-sales and sales and all the way into solution definition, architecture guidance, package selection, and solution estimation. He has also mentored development teams and trained developers in CMS design and implementations in the capacity of a CMS subject expert. His specialities include, but are not limited to, web content management, CMS solution architecture design and implementation, data management platforms, digital experience platforms, marketing technology platforms, etc. We are privileged to have you amongst us, sir, today. I welcome you today to this session and would now request you to enlighten the house.
Thank you, Ritika ma'am, and thank you, Huda sir, for giving me the opportunity. And thanks to Ajay when he reached out to me a month back to speak on this amazing platform. I think teachers and studies have always had a special place in my heart because I fundamentally believe that's something which lays our foundation. And being able to speak with all of the participants on this platform, even for 1 hour, gives me so much pride that I'm able to do that. So with that, I think I'll get into the topic because everybody may be waiting for it. So when I started creating this presentation, I started to think, how did I use or how did I explain this concept of metaverse to people around me? I mean, and that's where the commons man view came into play. A lot of times we do this from a technology lens and things become really complicated. But when I have to explain it to my kids who are 14 and 8 years old, I have to explain it to my wife who's a banker, to my parents who've started to understand the phone and they're starting to adjust to the new changes of technology. What would metaverse do to them in next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? So my conversation, or at least my thinking, started from there. But when I started to go more into it, basic Google, all of you would have done. You all would know that 1992 is the first time when this term was coined. But only a couple of years back, with Facebook changing to Meta, basically made it mainstream and everybody started to talk about it. As I spent last 9 months to 12 months understanding this concept, what it is and what not, what I realized is that metaverse is something which all of us have spoken about, experienced in different ways over the period of over the last couple of decades. We just did not know it as a metaverse. The terminology came in front of us. So when I explain this to people around me, I generally take them to these three movies. I don't know if all of you have seen these movies or not. I'm pretty sure Matrix is something that anybody has seen. Tron, Minority Report, these are the three kind of movies that I ask people to watch through. I've done this thing with my kids, sit with them and try to connect the dots of what is the concept of metaverse that people are talking about today. Also, these are the movies that probably are not going to become true for us in terms of metaverse in next few years. That's not where it is. But these are the instances, or at least different people's imaginations of what metaverse is going to be. Metaverse primarily stands for beyond this current universe. So when we talk about virtual worlds, and if you look at what Matrix does to us, it's really about how the worlds come into play. So that's what I tell everyone. However, there is one movie that I absolutely tell people to watch if they want to understand what metaverse will be in next few years, and part of it may already be here amongst us. I don't know how many of you've seen this movie, Ready Player One. I'm going to play a YouTube video and hopefully it's going to be a few seconds. So I'm going to let it play out. But this is a movie, if you take the dramatic side of the movie out and whatnot, I find this is the closest of what we all will experience metaverse in some shape and form in next few years. I mean, this is still very futuristic, probably 10, 15 years. I don't know how fast technology goes. But let me play a small clip of this movie where I feel metaverse connects a lot, at least for me.
A whole virtual universe. People come to the Oasis for all the things they can do. But they stay because of all the things they can be.
So I'm going to pause here. I think this was a very small clip, and of course you can all watch the trailer. This is all YouTube. If you want, I can, during the answering the questions, I can paste these links out there. But the one thing that I want to call out here that really connects with me is these two last things that they said. What people can do and what they can be. That's what virtual worlds, that's what metaverse is going to be. And this is not really new. This has been existing for many, many years in terms of video games. Video games, as I said earlier, for me is the easiest and the simplest way to connect to what metaverses potentially will be in next few years, immediate few years, and what will be inspiration for many others to go back and do whatnot. And I will share a lot more examples as we go along. If I quickly go back and I speak about what you can do and what can be, is the essence of why people want to leave the current world and go into someplace else. And this is also true to a human nature of why would you want to, let's say, leave your town and go out and try something new? Why would you want to go out and work in a different country, try a new job, do something else? It's all about our humans' desire of what is it that we can achieve and what is it that we can be. And there are certain things that are just outside of our reach, and those are the examples that we're going to talk when I say the metaverse has been amongst us for many, many years already. Some of us have already been experiencing without knowing that this is probably what metaverse is supposed to be, and now we are starting to see many people talk about in the term. And what's important is that people are now coming together to recognize what metaverse is, which makes it powerful, because even though it existed, people didn't know, but now that people are coming together, they will be able to make something out of it. So if I move on, Fortnite, that's my first example. I'm pretty sure almost anyone I talk to, at least who's in the young generation, have played Fortnite. I myself am a gamer. I do play games a lot. I've been playing it for almost 25 years and I still play it, and even I have played this game. My son plays it, my nephew plays it, my nieces play it. I'm pretty sure some of you've done that as well, either on PlayStation or a PC or even a mobile phone for right now. Fortnite, and apologies for the images, I wasn't able to get high resolution images without breaching licenses, so I have to use some of the lower resolution ones. But Fortnite changed the way how people look at games. They started to do these live music concerts, and these are a couple of examples of the concerts that are happening in, which basically means that instead of just playing a game, if I play or if I'm in this virtual world with my friends, I can now experience music and concerts from the comfort of my home. Like we are talking today, it's just that being in a virtual world and enjoying some music. Another great example, and I take us back to the story of what we can do and what we can be. All of you know the Marvel Infinity Gauntlet movie. I'm pretty sure nobody here in this room would not have heard about it. However, in our lifespan, can we imagine to be have that Infinity Gauntlet? Can we imagine to do something with it? Fortnite made it possible, and that's the sort of a power a metaverse will give us when it comes to virtual worlds. So again, a very small video talks about what the video game does, but can we imagine being Thanos, wearing an Infinity Gauntlet and feeling powerful? A video game allows us to do that. Now, if you do that with hundreds, thousands of people amongst you or around you, that's what makes it beyond the universe. So what you can do and what you can be, that's what gets all of us as human beings to be part of something beyond our day-to-day life. Some of us may want to run away from the stress we have. Some of us just wants to enjoy with our friends and whatnot. So when people tell me that metaverse is going to change our world, I simply answer, it has been already changing our world for last so many years. Fortnite was with us since 2016, and I think this was launched a couple of years back, even before Facebook announced their change to Meta. So I tell people it's already been there. The good news is others are talking about it, so we're going to start seeing a lot faster change around that. And Fortnite is not the only one. So Fortnite has been with us, but I think as we all are hearing, new implementation, new games are coming through it. Decentraland is also a place where if you haven't gone through it, I would ask all of you to go back and check after this session. So it is again a virtual world in which real life events are already happening. In March of this year, from 24th to 27th, they actually hosted a metaverse-based fashion week. And some of the brands that you may have heard the names of, Tommy Hilfiger, Vogue, they were part of the fashion week. I was not able to attend this fashion week, given the time zones and whatnot for me at that point in time. But the people that I speak to were amazed in terms of what they were able to experience. And this was people all across the globe. It no longer has become a case where you have to spend so much money, travel to Paris or Italy, the fashion capitals of the world, and then be part of such events. You can experience, if you like Tommy Hilfiger, you can experience your brands that you love today from the comfort of your home along with your friends. That's the power of some of the worlds that are coming now. Same thing. So it's not just the fashion world. Samsung has been working with Decentraland, and they did an entire launch party. So if you've followed some of the news later, all of these Apples and Samsungs of the world used to do physical launch parties. They would invite people and whatnot. Now they're doing that thing in Metaverse itself. So again, if you love the brand, if you love Samsung and you want to see what their phones are, you can be part of their launch parties. And there are similar examples. And it doesn't just stop there. It is becoming a real economy for us. All of us have essentially been saving and buying houses around us where we can stay. People buy plots in the real world where they can run their businesses. People are now spending millions of dollars in metaverses to buy plots, and then they use those plots to launch their businesses. So it's not just a simple story that it has been changing, or it is a video game. It's starting to take a form of where it is becoming business for people, where they will spend time, they will spend money, and they will attract you to come in. There is a good chance at some point in time in the future, you would be going into one of these metaverses, walking into a Nike store and buying a Nike shoe. That is possible through something called NFTs. NFTs are already being launched. Some of the brands like Adidas and Gucci and others have already started experimenting and launching those use cases. And people out there are spending real money to own a part of the brand that they love to be a part of. And again, there are other examples. This one I'm probably going to go a little quick. We have Roblox. My kids play Roblox. They've been playing it even before I heard about Metaverse to begin with, when change was happening. But when it came through, everything started to connect. Kids play, and he's only 8 years old. And when I asked him, why do you play? He did take a few minutes to answer, but fundamentally, he simply said, I love to wear different pieces on my avatar. He asks me to spend some money and get some Robux so that he can buy these things, which I don't, and I will talk about the repercussions of some of these things coming in. But whatever he wins in the game, he likes what to wear. He likes what he can compare with his sister, with his cousins. He loves playing with them as his friends, especially in the COVID era when he was not going to school. He never experienced school the way most of the kids do, because when he came to first, it was already COVID. He only started this year. So for him to be able to connect with his friends, Roblox became a very key entity. He was able to do some chatting, get on a telephone and enjoy a game. And it was immersive, because once they played the game, they were within a virtual world. Just like we as kids, back in my days at least, we had our neighboring, our society, I had my friends, we could play cricket, we can do other things. Kids for today, Roblox gives them a similar virtual world, but in a different manner altogether. And there are other examples. There is a GTA 5. It is the best-selling game in the history of video games. It's been there for almost, I think, 9 to 10 years now. And people have spent time in it, and they've become so powerful. They can dress how they want. They can do what they want to do. So that if today I was to start the game, I would look like nobody in front of them. So all of these examples have existed, and people have figured out what it is. It's just that this has been in the term of what a video game can do when it comes to metaverse. However, what's changing now is that corporates have started to recognize that metaverse is a thing, and it is a thing where they can actually go back and figure out how social interactions work. And why do they care about it now? Because of what pandemic did to us. For last 2.5 years, I never went to office. I have a few people that I'm meeting now when the office is restarting, and almost everyone tells me that we haven't been able to connect with you or anybody around us the way we would have connected offices were open. So corporates are realizing, what is it that we can do different if we now going to have a culture of work from home, and organizations who have people all across the world to be able to connect with each other. Accenture, has, and I would ask you to go back and do some YouTube hunting, look at and Accenture. They are probably the furthest in the industry right now around how corporates are going to lead the metaverse. They've launched their metaverse, which is called the nth floor. They are doing trainings in it. They recently announced that 150,000 new hires will be onboarded on their organization using the metaverse as their first day of work, which is completely different than how corporates would do onboarding. People go in, they meet, but in this case, they now have to meet in the metaverse. People have to worry about how their avatar would look like. They would probably still have to spend time to style it, make it look good, understand new experiences, new pieces. But the crux is that it's not just the video game industry, it is also the other corporates who started to recognize that this is very powerful. And this is where I feel, while we've been looking and experiencing metaverse in our own ways, some of us at least have been, more and more of us will start experiencing it even more as new and new use cases will come through. Even we at Nagaro have been doing some ideation, and we do have some sort of a point of view on what our metaverse, Nagaro metaverse, would look like. It's a presentation that somebody made. They did talk about it's more like a Nagaro cafe. There are some proof of concepts that you can see. People can walk in. It looks pretty stylish. From a solution perspective, you can create a lobby, you can join your favorite rooms. So a lot of the things that you would do when you would be in an office, but in this case you are doing it in a metaverse, and I could be doing it sitting here in Delhi, and I could have my colleagues coming on from US or Europe or anywhere else in the world, right? If I have nothing else, on a weekend or during a weekday, we could hang out, have a party together and whatnot. So all the organizations are thinking about it. So what it means for all of you is by the time all of you start your career journey as a few years later in the zone, how at least I personally believe I have experienced the world is going to be very different how my kids are going to experience the world. Their life of starting the journey in their careers, in their colleges is going to be very different because corporates are taking note of the power of what metaverse brings. And here are those examples. Microsoft investing, and they've launched their metaverse already. There are virtual events. Earlier, all of these events used to be, at least in the daily side of it, um, uh, there is this place close to India Gate, I'm forgetting the name now, where we had all the trade shows and events and whatnot and stuff where we used to go to. But now we can do that right here in the metaverse, and people don't have to travel. People can do it. If pandemic, which is not yet fully solved, is a worry, people can do that. There are use cases of business travelers, how they can figure those pieces out, and there are training use cases. There are simulations that people are trying to say, which nobody had resources to do that. So everybody is now paying attention, and next few years is going to be people experimenting, trying these different ideas, figuring it out what works and what doesn't. I'm not going to go through all of these things, but this is a lot of research that I have been doing. I knew I'm not going to have a lot of time, but I wanted to at least give you a highlight. It is not just organizations like Accenture and stuff. We have telecom industries like SK Telecom. I spoke about Centraland. You have a game called Sandbox, in which people can buy stuff. If you look at it, right, you can go back and create your avatars. You can do all of this thing. You have Verizons of the world. You have Airbus. They are trying to create some digital twins and avatars and figuring out what you can do. Boeing, Ericsson, Nike, I did speak about it. Geo within India itself. So if I was to zoom out and you look at some of these big names out there, right, everybody is now paying attention to what it is. Everybody is trying to figure out what needs to be done, what is it they can do, and how they can figure some of these pieces out. So a lot of this is going to happen, and in next few years, a lot of it's going to change around us. Not everything may succeed, as new technologies is all about. If you remember the 2007 when Apple launched iPhone, not everything worked. Some things clicked, some things didn't. But if you think about today, in 2022, 15 years after when Apple first announced iPhone and Android phones have revolutionized how we engage, and especially on the social side, not just the social part of it, the organization part of it. Expect Metaverse to go through a similar cycle. It's going to come up with several ideas. Some of them will fail, some of them will become big, but people are recognizing, people are spending time. So for us, the common man today, if I was to take away being an IT developer who's talking or writing about it, what does it mean for me? What does it mean for, let's say, you? As I said, many of us have already experienced it. Either you're playing games or you're watching movies, or if you're in a corporate world and your company is already doing something, you would have experienced it already. But the story doesn't end there. The important piece that we have to understand is that most of us will continue to think if we get our hand on an AR and a VR device, that's what Metaverse is. No, it's not an AR. It's not gaming. It's not just immersive worlds. It's not just a virtual world. It's a culmination of everything coming together and then forming a metaverse. So when I gave you examples of Fortnite and a couple of other Decentraland and stuff, they do some of these things. That's the evolution of metaverse, of how it's going to continue to change. That's the investment that you hear Facebook or Meta make. When Facebook announced they're going to change to Meta and they're going to be spending $10 billion, they are trying to figure everything else out together. I have a video later on in which talks about what potential Facebook vision or Meta's vision is, but it's culmination of everything. The way I look into it, metaverse will truly exist when it will have these 6 characteristics, and this is evolving. After 2 years, somebody may remove some of these things, or new may get added. Different people are creating their point of view, but this is the point of view that I hold today. So when I go back and talk with people, whether they are around me, a common man, or in an organization or a business setting, I speak about these 6 things. So when I talk about things like social experience, getting into a metaverse with your friends, like my son does with his friends on Roblox, is a social experience. So it has one box ticked. Is it persistent? No, because it's a video game. He goes in, he plays a game, they come out, game resets, and you have to restart. So it is not persistent yet, but his avatar is persistent. So there are pieces that he's not going to lose. His avatar will definitely stay, but game will basically reset every time that they have to play. It has an economy. He can spend money, Robux, and he can buy things. He can play the game, he can earn an in-game economy, and he can spend it. However, economy that Roblox has is independent of anything else, which is where decentralization comes into play. For Metaverse to truly become, and this is where it connects with Web 3.0 is talking about, this as when everybody starts to work together. And that then connects to the immersive nature. So I could be in Roblox today, could be Decentraland tomorrow, could be in the Fortnite third day, unless and until if I earn a sword in Roblox, if I can't use it in Fortnite, it's not really a metaverse. These are protoverses within their own self. They are their own virtual worlds, but it is not a big metaverse, which then connects to boundless concept of it. So for metaverse to come together or become realistic, everybody will have to figure this piece out. They will have to get to work with each other. They can't just go back and say it's my search engine or it is my social network. If they won't open and work with others, we're not going to see the metaverses that at least people are talking about. And today when we talk to our clients, when we talk to our people, I go back and say for anything to even come close to a metaverse, at least 3 of the 6 need to be ticked. If you play a game, it is a social experience, sure, but if it doesn't tick any other 5, it's just a video game. So that's how everything needs to kind of come together. And as I mentioned earlier, for us, what's going to hit us in next few years is the mixed reality, AR, VR, which is already here. So I already have some examples of it that we are seeing. So we have this example of Lamborghini, in which you can pick a car and put it into your room. But you have even more critical use cases close to us in India, where you can now go onto a Royal Enfield website or a mobile app and you can configure your bike through augmented reality and see how it looks like. So this will play a very big and a very critical role of how metaverses shape up. And if you look at the research and the industry, Facebook is investing their $10 billion in building a virtual headset. Microsoft's HoloLens is nothing but augmented reality. Apple, we don't know what they are doing, but everybody is hinting towards them working on some sort of a AR headset or a glasses that they would be announcing this year or next year. So we got to wait and watch. But AR and VR is going to be very, very critical, as it is one of the core fundamentals of what Metaverse will have to offer. And that's how us experiencing web is going to also evolve. This is the HoloLens example I'm talking about. That was the augmented reality. This is the virtual reality part of it, when you can connect the two, and then as you bring everything together, you start getting into a mixed reality use case. From a maturity perspective, this is something which I borrowed from one of the industry leaders, but I like this a lot. There is a lot more study. There are probably 8 to 10 pages behind this, but I just only pulled out this one view in terms of, if we are sitting in 2022, we realize that parts of metaverses are still emerging. So next 2 to 3 years, you would see a lot more experimentation, lot many people talking about it. New things will keep on coming. Some of them will fail as they go along, and advanced use cases will start to move into 2025. So what does it mean for all of us? Today, if I was to go and buy, let's say, a HoloLens or Oculus, they are very expensive. An Oculus would probably cost me $500-600 today, and maybe a lot more in India. So would I want to spend that money now as a common man, or would I want to wait next 2 years for it to become cheaper for the common man as well? Similar questions to what today the automotive industry is struggling with, the electric cars. Do I buy a car now, which is so expensive, or do I wait 2 years? And if you look at some of those advancements, Metaverse is going to go through a similar cycle of maturity as well. And we only feel that by 2030 is when the most advanced use cases will start to come into play. Until then, we'll see many things come up, many ideas, and we'll get to know what metaverse makes sense for us. And I'm going to play these couple of videos now. This is I think from the Facebook or Meta in terms of what they see what it is. This is probably I think a couple of minutes. So I'll let it play.
This on a blaze, feeling good, a little bird on my wing. No raining people all around, feeling good, big nothing praise. No space get bad, mine not getting strict, we getting today. We come to wine, come to way, come to mash up the place. So watch me take it down, you see me rolling the waves. All around the world, all around the world.
So this is the Quest 2 from Facebook, the device that they're talking about. This is their vision of what AR and VR is going to do. And if you see some of the things I've been talking about, they're talking us to get into the VR world, virtual worlds, launch it with our friends, immersive experiences, and have fun with them, and we move along. This is the bigger one, and this is the 2031, a day in a life. I'm not going to play the whole one. This is a very long video. I'm going to play first 2 minutes for this one, because that's where I feel it. Yes, it looks futuristic. It all depends on technology, whether technology will get there. But this is where Microsofts and Facebooks of the world are spending money. If you do get time, do look into it on YouTube, look into it, read about it. This also talks about the pitfalls of a metaverse and what challenges occur and what are we up to. Sorry, I'll restart it again and I'll just play this here for you. I only played for first 2 minutes.
Good morning, Bradley. Oh, it looks like you slept on your clothes again. Not to worry, we need to work on that. Well, it's already 8 a.m. Beijing time. You need to be at your workplace in 5 minutes. Identity confirmed. Uploaded personal settings. Tuesday, October the 28th, 2031. Better get a move on.
Today will be mostly sunny with cloudy periods. And now, a message from our sponsors.
Why are there always so many ads in the morning?
Bradley, you have exactly 4 minutes if you want to get to work on time.
By the way, don't worry, my eyesight is perfectly fine. It's just that, well, over the past couple of years, I've gotten...
See, so just an example of what some of the industry leaders are envisioning the life to be in next 9-10 years. So as this gentleman in this ad said, nothing wrong with his eyesight, but this is the Oculus of the next decade. It's a simple glass that we all wear today, but it does so much more. And you can probably start already seeing hinting of how it's probably going to impact our lives as we continue to go along. And this is where it becomes really interesting for somebody like we. We are finally at the start of another era where we don't know what it is. We as humanity will decide where we are going to take it, and we are the ones who can shape it with ideas, with technology, and with whatnot. That's what personally excites me in my lifetime, to build something that would probably impact how my kids are going to see it. And I'm just going to spend 2 minutes on this, and then I'm done. Is while we are defining what it is, there are some legitimate implications of not doing it right. I'm already worried when my son picks up this phone and he plays and he talks to somebody else. I don't know who is at the next end of the phone. Is he another kid, or is there a predator who's looking to talk to kids and take advantage of it, right? There are so many stories today in the gaming world when people are spending millions of dollars and getting bankrupted. Their mental health is getting stressed. Kids are in real danger in terms of not understanding what the culture is, and what we expect them into the social world. So all of this is critical, which is where a lot of the organizations, as they're starting to build the metaverse, are thinking about these concerns. And we are the ones who, I believe, will play a key role in terms of what we adopt and what we don't. These things will continue to become critical for us. So it's not all good. And these problems have been existing in the gaming world if you don't follow that, and they are only going to become worse as metaverse adoption comes into play. So we have a real chance of also controlling this part of the implications, the good and the bad, and making sure that we are making a good world that at least I would prefer to leave for the next generation out there. And with that said, I think that's it. That's all I had. I don't know if I finished early or late, Dr. Ritika, but that's all I had for today.
Thank you so much, sir. This was I would say, very interesting session. So it was a wonderful deliberation, and I'm sure this insightful session would have enlightened the participants about the metaverse and its real life applications. The future holds a big promise in this case, I would say. We have a few questions from participants, which I would now take up with your permission, sir.
Sure, please.
Yeah. So the first question is, in the technology world, metaverse has a lot of applications. How can students, research scholars contribute in the same or stay ahead of the curve?
Sorry, ma'am, your voice was breaking a little bit. I'm not sure if it is my internet or something else. Can you please repeat that?
I would repeat the question, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Ritika, your voice is breaking. Dr. Ritika, your voice is breaking.
Okay. So just a minute. Just a minute, sir.
Sure.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. The question is, in the technology world, metaverse has lots of options, applications basically. How can students or research scholars contribute, or what can they do to stay ahead in the curve?
So there are, I think that's an excellent question, and as I said, our education system needs to play a vital role in getting ourselves ready. So I think what as students and scholars and research teams we need to look into it is this multiple facets. If you are in the field of technology, there are so many new technologies which are coming up. The Unity framework, the XR and the VR. If you want to go down that thread, you can look into that. AI, machine learning will play a very big role in terms of how some of these systems will evolve and how they're going to make. So you can go in that direction. If you are let's say, and again, I don't know the exact streams it match, but all of these implications of privacy, the security, the ethical dilemma, if you are into one of those streams, can you understand and do research on those areas and start to define these policies? So for example, in today's world, if somebody was to hit somebody else or they were to kill somebody, there are laws that go on. What happens if somebody kills someone else in metaverse? Should they be punished? Should they not be punished? And if they steal everything, is it a game mechanic, or are there ethical implications? So from an academia perspective, somebody can also do researches on that. They can start publishing papers. And as these metaverses evolve, governments will start putting in ministries in place. Dubai today fundamentally has already launched a ministry which is looking into the metaverse overall and governing those pieces. And I feel every country's government will have to do it. So as an academia, you can start influencing those things through research paper and whatnot. So there are a lot of avenues for the students to do it. They can focus on some of these technologies or research papers and kind of help us go there, because we would need everyone to do that.
Absolutely, sir. Next question is what it actually means in metaverse, like buying a land. So, what actually would one get? Because it is difficult to visualize today.
Right. So in metaverse, when we say we buy something, you basically get access to an asset in the game. So if I was to give you an analogy, let's say if if I am launching, if I have a car and I go back and say, you want to pool, let's talk about carpooling. It's not a great example, but if you do a carpool, all of you pay for a certain part of the service and all of you get to share the car. Take it. If you go and talk about rental pieces, you pay for something and you get a service out there. So within the metaverse, when you pay and you say you buy a land, you get a certain asset in which you can do whatever you want to do. If let's say you have a brand called Nike, you can buy a land and you can put your banners on top of it. You can put your hoardings. You can invite people. You can create a game and they can go back and participate in your game, and you can do branding for it. So you get a piece of asset. It's like owning a certain piece within the metaverse itself that you can use how you want to use. The important part of understanding metaverse technologies and buying something is, if you can buy something today, you can also sell something tomorrow, which is where the NFTs and the blockchain conversation comes into play. So a lot of people are buying things today thinking because they're going to increase in value tomorrow and we'll simply buy it for $100,000, sell it for 5 million and we'll make some money and we'll walk out. So that's where the implication of blockchain comes into play. So you get control of an asset which you can either sell later or you can develop as a brand. You can use it for marketing, you can invite people to it, you can use it for entertainment purposes. It's up to you, but you get a physical ownership of it. Having said that, everybody hasn't figured it out. What happens if the company simply shuts down their game tomorrow? Do you lose it? Absolutely yes. There are no copyright laws to it. There are no governing laws to it. What if they sell the same land to two other people? How would you sue them legally? Nobody knows that answer, which is where the evolution of metaverse is happening. People are trying to figure it out, and at least I also tell people, before you spend money in metaverse, be very careful. We don't know, things are at a hype cycle right now. They are very expensive, so be very careful when you spend the money. Understand the mechanics, maybe even wait and watch for now.
Absolutely, sir. Last question, but an important one. What does Avatar mean in metaverse?
So avatar is a representation, our representation in the virtual world. That reminds me, I didn't put the Avatar movie out there. So if you remember the Avatar movie, which was so successful, and I think Avatar 2 is coming, we had our representation within the world itself, how I look, how I feel. That avatar can be of me being a man, an avatar being of a girl. It could be me being a man, an avatar being exactly what it is, what clothes I wear, if I choose to wear a hat or not. If I play a game, it is a weapon, what weapon do I pick? So avatars are basically our virtual identifications. So when I walk into a room and nobody knows my name, but they see me in a certain look and feel, they can recognize, oh, this is Kapil Ahuja in this game, this is his avatar, can we start and initiate a chat with him? So it's nothing but a digital or a virtual identity for you in a specific game or a world that exists today.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful session and beautifully explaining metaverse and all its applications. I would now request Professor Emin Huda sir to kindly present a certificate to Mr. Kapil Viren Ahuja sir as a token of remembrance for this wonderful session today.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kapil. It has been a wonderful session, and that to a topic which is in nature, futuristic, and let's say with the help of augmented concepts, augmented reality or virtual reality, and so many things, how and in which way it is going to change our day-to-day life, and to which way the basic way of interacting with others are going to change, and that's how it is important to get ourselves sensitized what the changes are written on the card. So thank you so much for having explained it in so simple way. And this certificate is not for the purpose of certification, rather for the purpose of remembrance. And that too, this e-form of memento is for you. So thank you so much, just for your remembrance. And
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
dear participants, here we come to an end of the technical session, and now this room is converted into a facilitation desk, help desk, to ensure that all of you get your certificates. And if you find any issue, you may write your email ID as well as name. My team members, Dr. Ritika, Mr. Uttam is there. They will see to it that why your certificates are not being delivered, and if it is being generated, they will give you the Google Drive link so that you can download it from there. And thank you so much to everyone. And thanks, my very special thanks to my very special friend, Mr. Ajay, who always at the backbone keeps on helping me, keeps on connecting to people, experts from the industry, and so that I can present those experts before you. And for all of us, we get sensitized, we get enriched in terms of our knowledge. So thank you so much. Wish you all the best. Over to you.